Welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. Give me a thumbs up just for the intro.
What is good, fam? It's Tommy Bigg Vic, and we are back in the building with another video. I have a special guest, Miss Dee Stephens from Marquee Insurance Group. How are you doing today, Miss D?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. One of the biggest expenses that people think about when they do come into this trucking space is the cost of commercial insurance.
Yes.
We kind of had a little dialogue, and you told me that you guys were partnered with quite a few different uh, insurance companies, right?
Yes. So
Okay,
we're affiliated with about a little over 50 at this time.
okay, that's a lot. That's a lot of
Mhm.
partnerships to
Yes.
be able to save people money on their commercial insurance. So
Yeah,
I guess one of the first questions I would like to ask you is just can you give people just a little background about Marquee Insurance Group?
of course. So Marquee has been kind of in the space for about 8 years now. We're founded by the same founders as OTR Capital and NTG. They were kind of all together trying to figure out a way to fix their insurance problems on the broker side and on the factoring side, being able to get certificates, making sure people are active, and just having an overall solution for when people ask them the question of where do I get insurance. So they kind of banded together, started Marquee Insurance Group, and we kind of just grew from there. So we started with about 10 markets that we call them our partnerships, and now we've grown to about 50, and we're basically an insurance agent. So we go to those other 50 insurance companies and basically put together policies and able to get you the best quotes and also provide you back office with that insurance,
Okay.
because they do offer insurance as a whole, but insurance companies don't always have like customer service departments. So we would in turn act as your customer service.
Okay. That's amazing because typically when you are looking for insurance, you're kind of talking to just one company and they're giving you just their quote,
Yeah.
versus you being able to, I guess I like the idea of being able to put together a package
Hmm.
versus this is all that I can get from this particular, insurance company that I'm getting a quote from. And I think that stood out to me when you mentioned that to me because I've heard of people, well, people that are in the rental space with vehicles, more so being able to kind of piece together their insurance, their commercial insurance.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Marquee Insurance Group able to handle brand new ventures?
Yes. So we are able to handle brand new ventures. Our sweet spot is anywhere between 1 to 5 trucks. And we do practice new ventures, sophomore new ventures, and then also fleets as well. So we have about, I want to say like 15 different markets who we can bring you to, as well as that progressive market. So you do have the option of that progressive quote that you can go to Progressive and get, but you also have the option of being able to piece together other insurance companies for the best quote.
Okay.
So, for example, if you are a new venture, but you have a really good credit score and you've been trucking for over 10 years, you may be able to put together maybe an auto liability with AmTrust, um, cargo with American Infidelity, and physical damage with Lloyd's of London to kind of give you a more comprehensive coverage that's not just that progressive. But progressive's not bad. We do have that as well. But, giving options is what we're here to do.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Because that's one of the biggest questions I get.
Mhm.
And I think this is probably with most insurance companies, even outside of commercial insurance, is age,
Mhm.
uh, driving record, and um, what is it? Age, driving record, and location.
Yes.
Now, can you just elaborate a little more on, I guess, the how insurance companies factor their rates based on location? Like I do understand some states have cheaper commercial insurance than
Mhm.
other states, and that is, I think, a huge uh, reason why, let's say, the New York market rates are extremely high for commercial insurance.
Yeah, so when it comes down to insurance, they're all about risk. So they're not just giving $1 million to any and everyone. Each insurance company has a specific appetite, and that specific appetite is what they go after. That's what they're comfortable with.
Okay.
That's what they're comfortable giving that $1 million to. So when it comes to age, a lot of insurance companies typically like to see anywhere between 21 and 65. They don't like too much older. They don't like too much younger, mostly because that's where they're comfortable with. If you had a CDL for 2 years and you're 21, you're more likely to be a more mature driver. As well as being older, you're less likely to have, I don't know, like a heart attack or something on the road and cause like a super bad accident.
Right.
So they want to make sure that you're healthy, you're active, you have everything you need to function well on the road. When it comes to location is always a big one because if you're in a more metro area, you have a tendency to get into a lot more accidents than if you're in a rural area. If you're driving through a cornfield and the only thing you can hit is corn, you're less likely to cause $1 million worth of damage or
Absolutely.
kill someone there. Whether you're going through Atlanta and you're in gridlock traffic for hours
Mm.
and hours, people are swerving through, cutting through, you have to take
Hmm.
roads, you have to get off on highways and things like that nature, you're more likely to cause like a crazy accident.
Mm.
Um, as well as certain states have harsher like claims laws.
Right.
Um, if you are living in a state that's at fault versus states that are not at fault, you're going to have a bit of a different kind of
Mm.
turnout. States that are not at fault, when they have to split damage 50-50, even if you didn't cause the accident,
Wow.
insurance companies are going to be less prone to want to take on that risk at the same kind of weight as someone who can, if they're not at fault for an accident, push the loss on them.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I know for a fact every single time that I went through Atlanta, I don't care what time it is almost. There's traffic
It's always traffic.
all the time.
It's
So,
always traffic.
and I guess that never really triggered in my brain, like, why is it much higher in that area, versus somewhere like, I guess, Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's this is supposed to be metro, but it's not as metro as
Yeah.
Atlanta is.
And they take into account that like Atlanta is like one of those places where all roads kind of meet. Like everyone
Right.
has to go through it. And insurance companies, they know you guys aren't the ones always causing these accidents. But when it comes down to paying claims, sometimes it is cheaper to play a claim versus fighting in court with someone.
Right.
A lot of times they are paying out like a lot in these metro areas because accidents just are happening. People are calling 1-800 whatever,
Mm-hmm.
claiming their neck and their back is hurting. It's just cheaper to give them $2,000 versus fighting it for $25,000.
Okay. So, something else that I've noticed now, and I've noticed that it also appears in the more metropolitan states,
Hmm.
and cities. It's when I went over the road, I'm always looking at billboards,
Hmm.
and I always, in certain bigger metropolitan areas, I always see the attorney
Yeah.
billboards, or if you've been in a trucking accident,
Mhm.
specifically to call us.
Yeah.
So, is now, I'm sure those are probably some of the states that have higher in commercial insurance rates.
They usually are.
That's
The
wild.
ones that have the billboards that are back
Yes.
to back to back, that are running the commercials like
Right.
simultaneously. It's just in those metro areas when people are constantly getting into accidents, it's easier to target drivers going through those
Gotcha.
areas.
Hmm.
So that's why it's like super important to insurance companies to vet the risk well enough. So of course, Atlanta is going to be more because you have a higher risk of that.
Right.
Granted, you could have gone 50 years without an accident. It's solely because you have to go through those places where other people may not be as, careful as you are.
Right.
And just having to like go through that is always going to kind of raise the price just a little bit.
Right. Okay.
When it comes to driving record, that does play a factor. So just because your rates may be high, there's always someone that's a little bit higher.
Mhm.
So when you're comparing your driving record to other people, you want to compare it to people who are also in the same location. A lot of times you'll see someone in the same location with a driving record that is not as long or not as good as yours is going to cost even more. So
Mm,
yours seems high, but a lot of times other people's may be a lot higher.
mm, okay. That makes sense. So, as far as people that are growing fleets, let's say, for example, I'm just going to give Progressive as my example.
Mhm.
When I added my second truck, I was wondering why my premium was so much higher on the second truck
Mhm.
without me adding another driver. And
Yes.
you gave me a classic example of what probably did happen, even though I did not give Progressive any driver, a second driver's information. You said that it's potentially they still could have charged me as if I had a second driver anyway.
Yes, so it's all about the ratio. So the ratio of truck to driver. So if you have a bunch of trucks with not enough drivers or a bunch of drivers with not enough of trucks, they're going to assume that there is a truck or a driver that they don't see on
Mm,
your policy. So we get a lot of people who don't necessarily add them. It could be a mistake where you just forget to add them or forget to send in information or just forget to finish the process. Your insurance company, when they see 3 trucks and 2 drivers, and you're consistently paying on a basis for 3 trucks,
mhm,
um, they're going to assume that someone else is driving that truck for you to be able to pay for this third truck.
mm,
So that happens a lot of times. It'll be a surcharge, and you'll see when you do go to add the driver may be a little bit cheaper than you expected him to be, mostly
mm,
because that surcharge is going to offset.
right. Okay.
And then
Okay.
when you have like 2 drivers and 1 truck, a lot of times they assume that the truck is being used twice as much. So sometimes they may surcharge you like you have 2 trucks because you have 2 drivers.
Right.
More than likely, if you have 1 driver, he's on the road for 11 hours. If you have 2 drivers, 1 driver could be sleeping or at home, and now that truck is on the road for 22 hours a
Okay.
day.
Okay. Wow. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense
Yeah, it's
because
all
my
about weighing the risk.
right.
So things that you do, and another reason why you want to get an agent, a lot of them will be able to walk through this with you, like why these prices may be what they are. But if you pose a higher risk than just the baseline, you're going to see spikes. That's why no policy is going to be completely the same. You may have a friend who lives in the same place, is the same age, has the same driving record, but he may have a different type of truck, or
Mm,
he may haul a different type of commodity. Those things are going to kind of increase and cause spikes in premiums.
okay. That makes sense. Makes sense. So let me ask you this. Does the type of freight that you carry, does that also play a factor in your insurance premium?
Yes. So high value and perishable items are always going to cost more. When you see things like electronics, alcohol, just mail, stuff like that. Anything that can is going to be harder to kind of put a value on is always going to cost a lot more.
Okay.
And things that people have a tendency to like to steal is always going to cost
Mm,
a lot more. Like electronics is always going to be like one of those things.
right.
Clothing and garments of name brands are always going to be a nice thing. If you have garments from TJ Maxx and you have garments from Nike, a lot of times they are going to want you to list that brand on your
Mm,
commodities because it's going to
okay.
cost more if it were to perish.
Gotcha.
Another thing is reefer goods. Those tend to be a hot commodity like flowers, eggs, anything like that. It all kind of depends. So you're always going to have some commodities that are immediately going to be excluded from your cargo policies,
Hmm.
and then you can kind of add them on at kind of cost. So if you want to add those excluded commodities, you just go to your agent, they'll give you a price and you can add them. Some the insurance companies just kind of want to know that you're hauling them. They may not
Right.
cost anything.
Okay.
They just kind of want to have an idea just in case something happens.
Right.
So always check your commodities because usually those things that you're listed for is all you're covered to be hauling. If
Gotcha.
you're caught with something that's not one of those 4 things, your insurance company does have the right to deny it if it's
Mm,
not listed.
gotcha. That makes That makes a lot of sense. So if someone has a drive-in versus a refrigerator van, is there like a big difference in insurance for the refrigerated truck versus the drive-in?
It's not a huge difference, but you will need more coverages that will
Okay.
kind of make up a difference. So, like reefer breakdown is one of those things you kind of just need,
Mm,
um, just in case, you know. And
right.
then also, it depends on like your actual reefer goods. If you're just sticking to frozen foods, you may get the same pricing as like a drive-in. But like I said, if you're doing ice cream or something like that that runs the reefer at a higher temperature, those things are going to cost you a lot more.
Mm. So in what cases would it not cost to add drivers?
No, so every insurance company is completely different. So when it comes to Progressive, they are going to charge you for drivers.
Okay.
That's just kind of their process. And even with Progressive, you may put a really good driver in there with a really good rate, and you already have a truck listed on, like in an opposite ratio listed on
Mhm.
the policy. That driver may not cost anything, but for the most part, you're going to get a number back as far as
Okay.
like a quote. But we do have insurance companies where the driver just has to fit driver guidelines. And if that driver fits driver guidelines, you can add them. So the
Okay.
best part about Progressive is they're not going to deny a driver.
Right.
You can pay for the driver, you can have the driver. When it comes to other insurance companies where that driver may not fit driver guidelines, they may just tell you you can't add them and
Gotcha.
exclude the driver. But in turn, it's free if he does fit driver guidelines. So you're
Okay.
not consistently paying for drivers, you're just consistently paying for
Right.
trucks.
Okay. So in a nutshell, find drivers that have good MVR, good
Yeah, I mean, you
good driving
always kind
record.
of want a
Right.
driver that has a good MVR
Get
because I
your
mean, it
equipment.
is your business at the end of the day. Like,
Absolutely.
even though you trust that driver, you never really know what he's doing on the road, and that's
Correct.
always going to reflect back to you. If something happens on the road and he causes a catastrophe, that lawyer or whoever may always come back to the company. They're always going to go
Correct.
after the company first, not the driver.
Right.
And you don't want to lose your business based off of just adding a driver that you probably know you shouldn't have added in the first place.
Right.
So those driver guidelines are usually there to protect you. You always want a driver with a good a good MVR, one that's not having excessive speeding, DUIs, things of that nature, because these guys are professional drivers. Just like you
Mhm.
wouldn't want a doctor that has like a bunch of infractions. You don't want a driver on the
Right.
road that has a bunch of infractions. It's his
Right.
job, it's his profession. So even
Exactly.
if he's not having it in a truck, you want to make sure that he's doing the right thing all the time.
Absolutely. As far as discounts, I've heard of so many semi drivers that are targeted out here. This is something that I don't think a lot of people talk about. That they're targeted with people running like just regular pedestrians on the highway, or I'd say non-CDL drivers in regular cars that target semi drivers for
Hmm.
accidents. Like
Yeah.
you'll see two people working together to try and create an accident to make money. And I think that is why dash cams have been so important
Yeah.
for drivers lately, even as non-CDL drivers. So are there huge discounts, or I guess more discounts for having a dash cam? Um, of course, your ELD. I know
Mhm.
there's discounts for having your electronic logging device
Yeah.
in your truck, but what other type of discounts can non-CDL drivers get to get their rates lower?
Yeah, so there's always going to be discounts, and every insurance company is completely different. So it's not like a one size fit all.
Okay.
But having a dash cam with some providers can offer you discounts because a lot of times it can prove that you didn't actually cause the accident. But catch 22, it can prove that you did as well.
That's
So
correct.
I know a
That's
lot of
correct.
drivers are like, "Oh, I don't want Big Brother over my shoulder." Like they will be over your
Right.
shoulder, but you
Absolutely.
can, in fact, get discounts from them as well. So me, I've actually worked on our claims department for over 3 years now, and I have seen those dash cams like not only just give discounts, but just save people a lot of money because they were able to prove that they were being set up by people
Wow.
in the past. So there has been I want to say like two or three situations where he pulled the dash cam out and like they can show them, okay, like you stopped here, like you pulled in front of me in this place, like I
Right.
slammed the brakes, you pulled out, you're perfectly fine. You walk out of the car, and now your neck and your back hurts. Like that
Wow.
can't be like a thing.
Absolutely.
So they do definitely help. And it may not just be saving you like $500. It could save you $1 million. Like you never.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing because I've seen videos where, you know, semis have had their dash cams and they clearly are pointing out the
Mhm.
cars that are, kind of working together to create
Yeah.
some type of a accident,
Sure.
to make
I
money.
mean, there was that one thing in Louisiana where the lawyer was actually setting people up. Like he was
Oh, wow.
people, like on the side of the road to like jump in front of like trucks, and then he'll represent them. Like these things do happen. It's like far and few in between, but you never really want to
Right,
be the one person that it kind of happens to. And
right.
those dash cams, they save lives and businesses.
Absolutely. So I definitely highly recommend everybody out there right now, if you don't have
Yeah.
a dash cam in your vehicle, get a dash cam because a
Mhm.
lot of these scams, are happening out here and
Yeah.
people are losing their businesses behind not having one, for
Mhm.
people that are just out here doing unscrupulous things on the interstate.
And it also
Um,
like proves that, you do care about your business and the general public as well. So if something were to happen and it's generally just an accident and you are at fault for it, you can at least prove to a court or a judge or whoever that you did take the necessary precautions to be able to be safe out there on the road.
right,
So you always kind of want to have something in the truck to make sure that you can see the outside road and you can see what's going on within the truck as well.
right. That makes sense. Makes plenty of sense. What is the benefit of having an agent, especially if you end up with a progressive quote?
Yeah. So, okay, you can get a progressive quote on your own, but having an agent to walk you through the things you need on the policy, especially one that specializes in trucking, is super important, especially for our new ventures as well, because you don't necessarily know the lingo, know the words, know the specific coverages you need. An agent, you'll be able to tell them exactly what you want to do in your words and your hopes and dreams and everything. And then they can kind of turn that into the policy you need to make that happen over a year's period. And then they also act as the back office to make sure that you have everything you need over time. So if you are with Progressive and you go directly to Progressive, Progressive's all you have. But if you are with, say, Marquee, and you do need a certificate in the Progressive line at 45 minutes, you can call Marquee and we can give you a certificate in 3 minutes. Or if you just have like a random question, but it's taking you 2 hours to get through the phone with Progressive, you call Marquee immediately or text us and we can give you the answers that you need, or we can wait on hold with them if need be, so you can actually run your business. But
That's very
on the flip
important.
side, for those who don't have Progressive, that just have that like basic insurance, as far as like one of the other insurance companies, we do all of your back office. So we do billing, we do cancellations. If you have cancellations, we have claim specialists, we have your actual sales agent that can walk you through what you purchased, why you purchased it, and all of that. And we also have account managers. If anything were to happen, if you want to change something, if you need something, if you decide you want to grow to 15 trucks in like the next like
Right,
60 days, like you have someone to walk you through that process to make sure nothing happens in that policy, because things do pop up. Like the insurance company can send you cancellation, they can send you random billing changes, like stuff like that. You want to make sure you have advocates for you to make sure that the insurance company is treating you well, and then also you're in turn holding up your end of the bargain to the insurance company, because it is a contract.
right. That's and that's very, very important. Right now, trucks are the numbers are up on a lot of box trucks. So I'm in the box truck, non-CDL box trucking space, right?
Yes.
And a majority of the people that are getting into this business now are renting trucks. Some people are coming in with the illusion that the rental company, the rental company's insurance has enough insurance to cover them for them to for their MCs to go active out here, which is
Uh-huh.
not true because they don't have that type of coverage that you
Yeah.
need. For your MC to go active, I believe the minimum is at least 750,000
Yes.
insurance. So kind of break down that process as far as renting and how are they, I guess, charged their premiums accordingly.
Mhm. So when it comes to renting, it's really not too much different than owning or leasing your unit as far as the auto liability and the cargo. So your auto liability is going to be your damages to others, like anything where you can cause damage to someone else or they need to be reimbursed. That's going to be that 750, or a lot of times they're going to require you, like the broker is going to require you to need 1 million. So that's that. A rental company isn't going to be able to give you that most of the time. One, because they are high values, and two, they're only concerned about the physical damage, the actual property they rented you.
Hmm.
That's what they want to make sure it's insured. The rest is kind of up to you. So the auto liability, you're going to need that, and then the cargo. I think most people get anywhere between 100,000 and 250, depending on what you're hauling. So they're not going to provide that to you either. You're going to have to go to an actual agent or a Progressive or an insurance company like that to be able to purchase it, because it's typical like business insurance.
Right.
And the MC number that's attached to your MCS 90, and that's what the insurance company is sending over in place to the DOT. So that's what they kind of want to know, that the insurance company is going to be able to take care of the general public if something were to happen, if your truck was involved.
Right.
So they're going to want to list your trucks, whether it's leased, owned, or rented, on that auto liability and that cargo policy. And the physical damage that the rental company is providing you is solely only for that unit. So if you were to get into an accident and you only have that coverage, your truck is only covered. On the flip side, if you only have auto liability and cargo and you never purchased the physical damage for that rental company, if you were to get into an accident, the general public and the cargo is covered, that vehicle's not covered. So you always need to make sure that you have three. What's required by the government is that auto liability. What's required by brokers is going to be the cargo, which you should just require of yourself, should just be physical damage. Because I have seen like a lot of businesses go to the wayside because they leased or rented a vehicle that they didn't have the money to pay for. And then when it gets totaled, now you're in debt for 80, 90, 100,000.
Right. And a lot of times, the rental company is putting more value on these trucks than they
Yeah.
are actually worth.
So they're putting taxes, fees, all of that in there, when physical damage is just going to cover the worth of the vehicle. So if your
Right.
vehicle is worth $60,000, they're going to pay you $60,000. Even if you pay for $80,000 and the vehicle's worth 60, the insurance company is going to pay you 60.
Right.
You want to make sure that you're insuring your vehicle for what it's actually worth, not what you paid for it.
It's definitely an expense that you cannot get
Yeah.
around as far as the commercial side of it, because I know
Mhm.
for sure when I first started and I looked at how much the down payment was and how much my monthly was going to be, I was like, whoa, this is definitely not
Yeah.
regular vehicle insurance.
Yeah, the numbers are crazy, but when you think about it, if the worst case scenario happens, they're paying out 1,250,000,
It's a lot of money.
however much your vehicle is worth, and those aren't small numbers.
They're
It's not
not.
like the regular Kia that's
Right.
$24,000. You pay $100 for it, and then that's kind of it. And then typically, a lot of times, they're paying that out to other people. You never know what could happen. It can be multiple people in the vehicle, so now
Correct.
it's a multi-million-dollar claim. Like,
Right.
things could generally get ugly. And the insurance company, I will say, they do go to bat for you when like the worst case scenario does happen, and it can get extremely costly. So you paying $20,000 for a policy and they're defending you for millions of dollars,
Mm,
it can kind of offset.
that makes sense. It makes plenty of sense because we
Mhm.
are in probably one of the it's I guess people don't like to look at it as it being really dangerous, but it
Mhm.
can get dangerous if you do not know what you are doing out here.
They're high
Um,
risk. And when other people don't understand what you're doing out there, because it's not usually the trucker's fault. It's
right.
just by proxy, they're putting all of the responsibility on them because he's the professional or she's the professional. So you want to make sure that you just have everything you need in order, because a lot of people jump in front of trucks, take advantage of
They
them,
do.
not really realizing that you guys don't have the capacity to stop the way they
Right.
would normally do. Or, you know, so you just want to make sure that you have everything you need to protect yourself, your family, and then the general public if something were to arise, because things do happen. And it's usually the people who aren't adequately covered that are getting in those types of situations.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So I mean, that's I mean that's and that at the end of the day, that's definitely why the rates are what they are right now.
mhm.
I definitely would love them to be a lot lower if possible, but I understand things happen, and we are operating heavy machinery, heavy equipment out here that can cause a lot of damage,
And with
out here.
quoting and not quoting, coaching and time, you can typically get those rates down over
Right,
time.
right.
Like we specialize in like really having like other partners to come in, but just having like a compliance team to walk you through, having like a claims team to walk you through, make sure you're making the right decisions as far as like what to file, what to not file, what to do, how to go about it. Those things are like super huge. So just, I mean, hang in there. It seems crazy like the first year, two,
It
three
does.
years, but it does get better. Like
Yeah,
we do
mine is
see
not as bad.
insurance rates.
Yeah, it's not as bad as other quotes that I get in my DMs all the time. It's just
Yeah.
like, wow, that's insurance is that much. But then I look at, their age plays a factor.
Mhm.
Of course, as a new venture, uh, it's a lot of times it's the state that they live in. I get New
Yeah.
York so many times when I hear the rates that they're being given out here, as far
Mhm.
as the quotes that they get, and I'm like, just hold up just one second. I may have something for you guys to
Yeah.
be able to kind of do a little more comparison,
Mhm.
with your quotes that you're getting, and that's kind of like this is like the perfect time to us to be even having this discussion right here, so people can have another source of insurance to be
Mhm.
able to get more quotes than because everybody right now is being told to go to the one and only Progressive
But I
for
mean,
their insurance.
yeah, I get that. But in the same token, like use an agent. Agents usually they can give you a progressive and they can give you some other things, and then that feedback in the middle, because that's what's most important. You want to make sure that you're adequately covered.
Right,
Just being able, like you may think you want to do something one day and then you change your mind the next day. And you don't have anyone to talk to in the middle. That can get like really messy, especially with progressive. So I would always say, even if it's not us, to always just use an
right.
agent, go through an agent. It's like, it's not going to cost you anything extra. They're going to give you the same quote that Progressive's going to give you. Like, it's going to be fine. Just use the agent, get that extra source of information, that extra backup, someone that's just always going to have your back and speak on your behalf, and then go from there.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience in reference to insurance?
Um, yeah, just always be informed. Always reach out to your agent if you need anything. If you're not with us, even give us a call. We're always happy to help. We have a bunch of blog posts, a bunch of videos, anything you need to kind of just educate yourself on insurance so you can make really good choices in your businesses and just, thrive and make a lot of money and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Wait, so I think I did forget one thing. You
Mhm.
did you mention are you partnered with fuel cards? Did we talk
Yes.
about fuel cards one time?
Yes, we do have fuel cards. It's basically the same thing as OTRs.
Okay.
All of the same benefits. Discounts with Pilot and Petro, TA Petro, and then also it's like a percentage discount as well.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your time. I thank you for sharing this valuable information with the audience out here. We have a lot of new people starting brand new ventures, getting
Mhm.
started in this trucking space, non CDL more specifically, and even some CDL drivers that are breaking down and kind of not wanting to work for companies and starting
Mhm.
to work for themselves, and they want to be in a box truck. I guess something
Yeah,
a little more laid back than having a big semi out there. So
yeah,
um I just want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you giving this valuable information.
no
So,
problem.
guys, I have partnered with Marquee Insurance Group. And you guys are going to be able to find a link at the bottom of this video to where you can get all the information you need to help start your new venture and get you some incredible insurance quotes to get your businesses up and running so that you can get out here and start making money with some decent insurance.
Love that.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. D. I appreciate you coming on the channel and sharing this valuable information with everyone.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. Till the next time, you guys, always hustle, never stop growing, and we will see y'all in the next video. Peace.
Nobody stressing that body like me, I know the way you like it. I treat you like a queen, run the castle, you a treasure. Feel like you setting fire to my desire for the pleasure. You a gem, got me blameless, make amends, know you can, I'm out here
trying to control our emotions. If we on the right side of passion, we can share love in the ocean.